Andrew?
Okay. Well, I want somebody to hold me and help me wash my hands.
I think your mom's outside.
What?
Bro, that's mouthwash. I think your mom's outside, bro. No. Can you just... Alright, yeah, that's fine. Can you shut the door behind you?
You just gotta lock it.
Yeah, I'll lock it. Thanks, bro.
Hey, today we have a story on debunking lazy potheads and Congress. So I want to start off today by saying I mispronounced something on the last show. The Koch brothers, I was calling them the Cuck brothers, which, you know what, the reason is because I had neighbors growing up with the same last name, Koch, and they pronounced it Cuck, so they were the Cucks, but these are the Kochs. The Koch brothers are the billionaires, so Charles Koch, the one who is lobbying for marijuana, I mispronounced it, so just getting that straight. Anyway, starting today with a story on laziness and marijuana, which is basically the most common stigma that we know kind of surrounding marijuana, which is more marijuana makes you lazier, makes you kind of a couch potato and you don't do much. And there have been a few studies in the past, all with kind of mixed results, and all of them also focusing pretty specifically on adults, which, you know, makes it a little bit trickier because with adults, you get a much more static mind. You get people who are much more rigid in their routines and all of that. So you can't really see any formation of anything. However, a new study came out that instead of focusing on adults, it focused on adolescents and the ages 14 to 17. And that's a little controversial in and of itself. But they focused on these age groups and specifically teens who were smoking marijuana, and they followed them for a few years just to see if anything changed in their motivation, in their value system, anything like that. And a few things did change, but most of all, the biggest and most interesting claim out of the whole thing is that, I'm just going to quote them, "Our results do not support a prospective link between cannabis use and reduced motivation among adolescents." That in and of itself kind of explains the whole thing and can help debunk this old stigma that we have around marijuana and laziness, because the fact that adolescents over the years are not morphing or forming into a, you know, kind of couch potato archetype is showing that maybe there are more reasons for this kind of laziness being associated with marijuana. Maybe it's not just the marijuana itself. Maybe it was the lifestyle. Maybe it was the people who were smoking marijuana. All of these things that kind of went into the idea of marijuana equating with laziness. This study is helping prove that that's not necessarily the case. You don't have to be a lazy person. Of course, we all have, you know, been in situations where we smoke marijuana and we just don't want to do anything at all. That's actually pretty much every single instance I have, but it doesn't necessarily bleed into your everyday life. The one thing that the study does show is that higher uses of marijuana with kids show a lesser value towards education, or towards schooling is what they say. They use the word schooling, which is important because lesser value of schooling can mean a myriad of things. It doesn't necessarily mean that they don't care about school. It could also mean that they're more into alternative educations or educating themselves, things like that. So again, the most important claim out of this entire study is that our results do not support a prospective link between cannabis use and reduced motivation. Good news overall.
I am taking care of myself by getting enough sleep, eating well, and being physically active. I am the most important person in my life, and I will do everything I can to make my life the best it can be. Computer games have no control over me.
Second story is a big spending bill just went past the House, or just was passed in the House, and in it was a whole crap load of stuff. but there were also a lot of things that were targeted towards marijuana. And some of them we've been waiting for a long time. That being said, it passed the House. It's now going to the Senate. It's going to change in the Senate. It always does. And the Senate is more conservative. So we don't know how many of these provisions will actually get past the Senate, but we do know that it got there. So the fact that there's such a large volume of marijuana provisions shows that at least some will pass. And one that has a pretty good chance of passing is one that will give protections to banks who associate with marijuana companies. That has been a pretty bipartisan issue for a long time. There's the Safe Banking Act that would probably pass both Congresses if they brought it up, but this would do that without having to create its own bill. I don't think it's as broad as that Safe Banking Act, but it's still giving protections to the banks, and that's the first and most important step. So there's that. And then the second one that has only recently gained some significance because of some comments from the Chief of Police of Washington, D.C. is that Washington, D.C. has been existing under this rider where the government is not allowed to tax marijuana, even though it's been legal for a few years now. And because of that, it has been stuck in the illicit market, the underground market, for a long time. And there's not been able to be any kind of market that's existing legally. And because of that, the chief of police, wrongly so it seems, was blaming a lot of the crime on marijuana, saying that marijuana itself is to blame for crime. Here's a clip from it, actually.
We have taken on a mindset that marijuana is not really a big issue in our city. I can tell you that marijuana undoubtedly is connected to violent crimes that we're seeing in our community. When you have something where people get high reward, they can make a lot of money by selling illegal marijuana, and the risk is low, the risk for accountability is very low, that creates a very, 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 very bad situation, because those individuals get robbed, those individuals get shot at, those individuals get involved in disputes all across our city. I'm seeing it happen more and more all across our city in all different wards. Unlawful marijuana pop-ups, unlawful distribution of marijuana in communities, that is a bad recipe for disaster.
Well, in the spending bill, they would get rid of the rider, and legal sales would be able to exist. And so that's a great thing, and it would pretty much solve all of his problems, even though he worded it incorrectly. He made it sound like marijuana itself is the problem. There are some other aspects of the bill. There are protections for universities who want to study marijuana. There's a push for expansion of research for psychedelics and cannabis, along with CBD. So there are a lot of things there that I think both parties can get behind, and especially when it comes to research. That being said, again, it has not passed the Senate, so we'll see what actually makes it through. Yeah, and that's it for today. We'll be back next week with some more stuff. See you then.